Hi, thank you for finding my channel. My name is Dr. Steve Simpson and I'm a mind coach and a presenter and an author and a few other things too. Now this latest video is part of my Help Me series when subscribers contact me and say, how about doing a video that will help me do this? And so the suggestion that I've had for this video is from somebody who said, very graciously, they like my videos, or at least some of them. That's always nice to hear. It's great to get some feedback. But she said the thing that she would most like to know more about is how can she talk more like me. I'm not exactly sure she said it in those words, but the point I guess she was making, or that I understood, is talk important? Is the way you talk important? And do I have any tips to pass on that might help people? Well, the way we talk certainly is very important indeed, because the purpose of talk is not to make us feel better, having a nice little chatter, but to communicate sometimes difficult emotions and thoughts to other people. And it's only relatively recent in our evolution, something like about 40,000 years ago, that we learned to talk. We'd managed then, up to then, for about 7 million years, perfectly well without that, and I've done several videos on that subject. But to suffice it to say that the way that we talk is important. And I learned this, I was going to say perhaps the hard way, but I guess I should say better late than never, about 12 years ago when I started to do advanced studies in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and in particular in hypnosis, because there is no question that there is a hypnotic voice and a hypnotic delivery that definitely helps with the therapeutic process. And you don't need to have this kind of voice, whatever it might be, but it certainly helps a lot, and you'll get much better results with your clients much faster. So the lady who wrote in, English was not her first language, but you would never have guessed that. She said what she wanted to know was about the tonality of the way I talk and the cadence. Those are words that actually I have to look up in the dictionary, so congratulations. But certainly I see it more simply as there is a rhythm to communication, and it's a natural rhythm. And if we try and force it, we'll just get further away from it. Just like when actors try and force themselves to play in a different accent, it's never really convincing. There's only one person that I know who was really good at it, that I worked with at drama school. But most of us struggle with accents, so given a choice, best to use our own voice. And the way that I learned to talk the way that I do, I guess was unconsciously. I was doing NLP. Those of you who know anything about NLP know that one of the most important things about it is that when we want to do something, we model people who are really brilliant at it. And I was fortunate to do my training with Richard Bandler, the co-creator and founder of NLP, and Paul McKenna, who's a very famous TV personality and best-selling author. And little did I know then that 12 years later he and I would be close friends indeed, and I always enjoy our conversations when we're together because he's full of inspiring new ideas all the time. He never stops. So what was my modelling doing? Well, when they were on stage doing their hypnosis demonstrations, I just put all of my focus and unconscious focus on them as I could. And I definitely picked up that they all had a certain rhythm. Now, it was different because everybody will have their own rhythm. And I noticed when they were on stage that they would be tapping their foot. In fact, I'm doing that now too, because as soon as I started thinking about it, I started to do about it. And it's much like a musician, I guess, would tap the beat, because there's a beat to our language. So, okay, that's maybe not too difficult to get one's head around, but more difficult perhaps is, well, how do we do it ourselves so that it can become natural? And quite a few people come to me for coaching in this area because they may be public speakers, they may be having to do a speech for a special occasion like father the bride, and are terrified of it, or they just want to learn how to appear on TV and even radio for that matter. So as a first step, I will say, well, look, the way we have learned to teach all of this stuff that makes an apparently good speaker is natural. We all have it. But if we search for it, we may not find it. So we just have to come across it in a less direct way. And I will give the example of fairy stories. And I will have in my study, I have a book of fairy tales. And the client and I will read a few fairy tales to each other and hopefully not go to sleep. But the point is they're written in such a way that they do have this sort of metronomic or natural rhythm to them. Those who are into literature, you can't do very much better than reading William Shakespeare. You may not understand many words of what he says because it's the words change since he wrote them, but you will understand the rhythm of the way that he constructs it. Very much like poetry, and I think if I remember correctly, he called them, or scholars called it, he wrote in iambic pentameters. And the other way that you can model is to model people who you instinctively feel have got a great voice, and I certainly do that all the time. Richard Bandler has a great voice, Paul McKenna has a great voice. There are other people on television. Sir David Attenborough, who makes those wonderful nature programs, has a beautiful cadence, a beautiful tone to the way that he speaks, that is at the same time relaxing and also inspiring. It fills you with curiosity, with the miracles of the animal kingdom. There's the poet who is no longer with us, called Dylan Thomas, a Welsh poet, and I say Welsh because the Welsh are very good at this kind of thing, just like the Italians. And if you can get recordings of him reading, particularly if he's reading his own poetry, you'll hear what I mean. I was going to say you will see what I mean, but you'll hear what I mean. Another actor, no longer with us, who I think was absolutely brilliant, was Richard Burton. Find some of his old videos. So you see, the way that you learn to get better at this kind of stuff is, first of all, wanting to know, what do I have to do? And then modeling from those people who are best in the world or were best in the world. But it is important. The more you think about it, the more natural it will be. And after a few months or a few years, you will just talk naturally without thinking about it. And it will be appealing to other people. Not everybody, of course, because we all have our preferences. So there we go. I hope I've answered the question. Voice is important. And we've only been doing it for 30,000 years, which is why we still have so much to learn. So on that happy note, may I wish that your head is in the right place, because if and when it is, and that's what most of my videos are about, the rest of your body will follow, and indeed so will just about everything else. Another video coming soon, but in the meantime, wish you luck, wish you happiness, keep smiling. Goodbye.